online. And I'm going to start off by grounding ourselves in some history. Let's go right back to where it all started. Does everybody know what BASE stands for? You know, we have BASE 1, BASE 2 messages in Visa. You guys actually know what that stands for? There must be some old timers in here. No. It stands for Bank of America Systems Experiment. You know, Visa was a spin out of Bank of America. It was actually one of the most innovative things they were doing back, 40, 50 years ago, which is taking technology, putting it into a platform and spinning it out. But if we look at this picture here, this is really how commerce used to be done. Here you have a local grocer working, dealing with a customer who is very well known. These are known buyers and suppliers, or in this case, a customer and a storekeeper. And these people knew each other so well that the store owner would even extend credit. He would act like a bank. He would actually underwrite credit risk to the buyer. These relationships were very personal. He probably knew what she wanted. She's going to buy cornflakes every Monday, and she's going to buy some sort of corned beef and Quaker Oats or whatever else is on the shelf. And that kind of was how commerce occurred. And then Visa actually introduced the general purpose credit card on a mass scale. And what happened was we lost this level of personalization. Everything became depersonalized. We allowed folks to do business with each other when they didn't know each other, and we took the risk out of the equation. So I was in Rio a few weeks ago, and it's fantastic, right? You go to a country you've never been to before, you pull out your Visa card, and you can interact and transact with folks that you have never seen before and may never see again. And it's completely trusted, and everyone's going to get paid with all the appropriate resolution and dispute mechanisms. But what's happening today is with the enablement of mobile and digital, we're bringing the personal back into the equation on a massive scale. So here's what it looks like today. I go to Starbucks. Has everybody here used the Starbucks app? Right? It's a great app. It's really easy to use. But one of the most important things about the app is it's personalized. So when I show up, they know no matter whether I am in San Francisco, New York, or Rio de Janeiro, that I love a quad grande skim 1 Splenda latte macchiato. And that level of personalization can travel with me wherever I go, because now I have a device in my hand that allows to deliver that relationship. So now let's take a look at what could be more personal than Girl Scouts, right? The Girl Scouts knocking on doors, selling cookies, trying to accept payment. Go back a few years, it would have been cash, maybe it would have been a check. But here's the Girl Scouts actually using a square reader, right? And these are some of the happiest merchants you're ever going to see. Despite the fact that we have certain merchants that have issues with the price of acceptance, these folks don't have that problem. And they're literally able to start taking credit cards while they knock on the door using a very simple iPad or iPhone or mobile device. These girls grow up and turn into this. And this is a picture from a Justin Bieber concert. And as you can see, there's a lot of emotion going on in there. And what's happening is these kids are growing up as true digital natives, right? When I speak to clients and when I go to conferences, I don't see a lot of these kind of people in the room. And what's happening is the way they are looking at the world, the way that they're interacting with digital devices and with commerce is completely different to what most of the folks that are kind of driving the decisions in our banking and acquiring and merchant relationships have grown up. And so we've got to start putting ourselves in the shoes of these folks. We've got to start thinking how they think and how do they want to interact with their merchants, how they do commerce, and how they live their lives. So what's happening today is conversational commerce is taking off in a large way. I'd love to ask everyone in the room, how many folks here think they're going to send more text messages today on their phone or some form of chat than the number of phone calls they're going to make today? Right? I don't think I see a single person that thinks they're going to make more voice calls than they're going to type in messages. Probably people are doing it right now. And here's an example from Facebook Messenger. And this is just one method of conversational commerce. Facebook announced that they had over 700 million users that are using Messenger every day. Other parts of the world, you have WhatsApp, you have WeChat in China. This sort of messenger phenomenon has taken off on a scale of hundreds of millions to billions of users interacting with these devices. And many of you are aware that Facebook opened up their messenger platform with open APIs almost a year ago, And they really revved it up this year. I was at the F8 Facebook Developer Conference, and they showed a bunch of commerce examples, including, for example, KLM Airlines, who launched a chatbot so that you could actually change your seat, request a special meal, change your flight departure or arrival dates, all from a chatbot. And so people are starting to realize that it's actually a lot easier to chat on a mobile device than it is to go through an IVR, where you have to press 1, press 2, press 3, press star to go to the top, press pound to get out, pull your hair out to talk to a human being. It's just not a great interaction. And as we look at how user interfaces are changing, we have to start thinking about the evolution of UI. When the iPhone was introduced 10 years ago, touch was considered to be a very revolutionary concept, right? I think people were criticizing Steve Jobs. This is never going to work. People are used to keyboard and mouse. Who is ever going to use a finger to use an iPhone? And if you recall, the CEO of BlackBerry laughed at the iPhone and said it would be a complete waste of time because their keyboard that you could tactilely touch with your fingers or your fingernails would always win over touch. And of course, touch interface took over. We all know what happened to BlackBerry. And today, people are saying touch is actually really horrible. It takes too long. I have to pull my phone out of my pocket. I have to authenticate with Touch ID. I have to find the app that I'm using. I have to get to the menu point. I have to find the actual piece of functionality I want to access through too many steps. So what's more natural than touch? And many people say voice is the new touch. So who here has used or owns an Amazon Echo? Right? A few people, not that many. Amazon Echo is a voice-activated device. Now think of yourself driving a car. You could text. A lot of people do it. I see it all the time. It's not good for your health. It's not good for the environment. You may end up in jail. So it's probably better to use a voice interface. The Amazon Echo is a fascinating device because it allows you to have natural language understanding in an always-on mode. So everyone here has used Siri or Google Now, right? Normal? No big deal? Amazon Echo was a product that was developed by mistake at Amazon. And there are a lot of lessons about serendipity when we talk about innovation and disruption. Does everybody remember the Fire Phone? Amazon Fire Phone? A lot of people don't even remember, but it was not even more than a year and a half ago. Amazon wanted to enter in the phone business, developed their own phone, very much driven by their founder, Jeff Bezos. Turns out it wasn't very successful. They had to shut it down. They wrote off billions of dollars of inventory. Most of the people either got terminated or moved to other parts of Amazon. But there was this one small group of folks who lifted up their hand and went to the CEO, Jeff Bezos, and said, hey, we've got this voice assistant that we built into the Fire Phone, which we thought was going to be the killer app because it was going to be better than Siri or Google Now because it could enable commerce and shopping. We have this great idea that if we spin out the voice-activated assistant and put it into a speaker that sits in people's living rooms and kitchens and bedrooms and listens all the time, we think this could be a great product. And he was able to convince, they were able to convince him to do this. Now fast forward to today, Amazon Echo is probably going to be $1 billion product for Amazon. And they've just taken over the home and the living room. And they've done it by using open APIs. Siri, until recently, was a closed system. Google Now is a closed system. Amazon started with the Echo being an open API environment. They don't have an app store. They have a skills store. I highly recommend anybody who wants to look at this technology to spend $150, $160 to buy one of these and look at all the skills. Each week, you have literally hundreds of software developers that are putting in these skills. It's very easy to use. I have a Nest thermostat in my living room, and I can change the temperature by connecting the Amazon Nest skill into Echo. So conversational commerce and user interfaces are evolving rapidly into a way that's much more natural as to how we live our lives as human beings. Now go back to the old days of mainframe computing and client server and really how many of the systems that Visa and our banks have been architected. They were architected around making the user conform to the architecture of the system. So when e-commerce came around, we turned all of ourselves into data entry clerks. Right? You had to type in your 16 digits and your card verification method, your name and address. You became a data entry clerk. And even the flows of, for example, how you would check into a hotel. It was built around how the reservation system took all the information, the field of arrival, of departure, of number of people, of rooms, of payment type. And you had to conform to the way the system was set up. Well, what's happening with those girls that we showed up on the screen and the newer generation is they don't buy into that. They want to just live their lives the most normal way, and what happens in the back end is someone else's problem. They just want to be able to say, Alexa, order me an Uber, and boom, a taxi arrives in their home and they drive off. So as you guys are thinking about the hackathon and trying to do very innovative and new things, try to put yourself into a human-centered design frame of mind. Has anybody here studied or learned about human-centered design or design thinking? Well, most of the room, that's great. So that's really where software development and solutions development is going, is you put yourselves in the shoes of the end consumer. The beauty of this is we are consumers. Fortunately, when we come to work as product people, somehow we put a different hat on and we suddenly go into another world. We start thinking about business requirements, documents. Does anybody know what RTN stands for? No, nobody in this room. Wow, oh, 2 people, that's great. Resource tracking number. I'm not going to do anything until I do a man-hour estimate of how long it takes to build something. I'm going to exaggerate it to make sure I'm on time, all that good stuff, right? We got to get away from that world. We have to have very new approaches to how we develop things. And one of the reasons is the pace of change is just too fast. We can no longer afford to develop products in 4 to 6, 6 to 8 year life cycles because the market is moving too quickly. And it's moving quickly in ways that is way beyond what we think. You just talked about voice, but what about visual? What about virtual reality, augmented reality? This is a picture of the new IKEA catalog on the iPad. Everyone's been to IKEA, everyone's been shopping there, right? Everyone's seen the catalog before. Well, what IKEA is doing is they allow you to hold the iPad in your room, imagine holding it in your living room, and superimpose visually what it would look like if that blue couch was in the corner. And there's another company called House, H-O-U-Z, which is a kind of home furnishing marketplace. And they have a similar type of functionality in their app. And they found that people who actually go to the trouble of moving the iPad around their home to look at how furniture might look in a different part of their living room or kitchen or bathroom have a 50% chance of converting into a sale. So this stuff really works. Going back to the chatbots earlier, Hyatt Hotels last year introduced chatbot to customer service for their hotel app. They found a 20 times increase on engagement for folks that use the chatbot, right? So the statistics are coming in, and this is the way really people want to interact. Now let's take a look at virtual reality. At the Visa Innovation Center at One Market, we have a VR showcase where you can put on some glasses and you can effectively be transported to a Manhattan, New York City skyscraper office, and you can, with 2 wands, gesture and redecorate the entire room, right? You can build your shopping cart, you can add chairs, tables, computers, bookshelves, and it literally will make you feel like you are walking around that room with those dimensions. Again, conversion rates are higher, this is what people are getting used to. So user interfaces are really evolving to a place where we have never been before. So I want you all to think about that as you're developing your solutions. So what about all these devices that are showing up? Commerce is changing, not just from the UI point of view, but right in the center of this picture is an Amazon tile button. Has everybody seen these or maybe used one of them, right? So you put this in your laundry room next to your washer, and you press that button that says Tide, and Tide will miraculously be ordered with 1 click. It's great for Visa. We're the card on file, hopefully, and that commerce interaction has happened in an incredibly seamless fashion. In fact, so seamlessly that they found that people that had children in their homes had kids that would go, and to add a new feature in that if, Tide was ordered 10 times in a 30-second time period, you probably needed a confirmation after the order. But what this illustrates is how commerce is changing in a way that goes way beyond the number of people on the planet. So we used to think a lot about the numbers. Everybody's familiar here, hopefully, who works at Visa on the scale of our network, roughly 3 billion cards, availably transactable at 40 million merchants, 100 billion transactions, $7 trillion of payment volume. It's huge. When mobile came along, we all thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we can get a card in every mobile phone? And there's something like 7 billion people on the planet, 4 billion adults, depending on your stats. So maybe we could get to 4 billion phones. Maybe everyone in the world has a smartphone. Now we're starting to think most people have 2 smartphones. I was in Dubai recently, and I was told the average number of phones that a Dubai citizen has is 3. People have multiple phones. But let's just keep to the numbers of everyone has a phone, we get to 4 billion. That's great, we're done. We tokenized every single mobile device and we're finished. But it turns out that depending on whose numbers you look at, you're going to have 50 billion of these IoT devices, Internet of Things, IP-enabled devices that have sensors and connectivity to the internet. Now we also know that much of the transactions and much of your payment volume as a consumer in the next 5 years will shift to fully automated transactions. That means you're going to start making purchases where you were not involved. You're already doing it today for possibly 10 to 15 to 20% of your spend. Who has their Netflix account on auto card authorization, right? Most people, right? Does anybody here use Amazon subscriptions where the perishables keep getting reordered? That's happening automatically, right? Who's paying their phone bill on automatic credit card, right? Almost everyone in the room. So you are already making 20, 30, choose a number, maybe it's only 10% of your purchases without human intervention. But now fast forward this to the self-driving Tesla, up there on the screen. Tesla has self-driving capabilities, not always turned on, it's done with a software update. The car's self-driving. Imagine a scenario where you go to dinner in San Francisco, Friday night, parking's really expensive, it's really hard to get. Your self-driving car drives you to dinner. Rather than look for a parking spot or pay for valet, it hires itself out as an Uber. It makes money for you while you eat. You can have as much wine as you want. You can become fully inebriated. You hail your car, your self-driving car, comes back to the restaurant and drives you home. You have made money and you have avoided drunk driving prosecution, right? Now, there's a whole bunch of payments that are happening in there. Somebody got in the car. They paid for the ride. It probably happened automatically. They were probably checking their Facebook page while they got in and were distracted and got out. Imagine the same car knows it needs an oil change. It puts itself out for reverse auction to be bid for who bids me the best oil change. It then drives itself to the oil change, has the oil change occurring, and it pays for itself and drives itself back, all while you're at work or at home, right? Now these kind of scenarios sound a little far-fetched. About a year ago, we started to think about this in the innovation group at Visa. Meanwhile, today, we have every major car company talking to us about how we can get card tokens and payment credentials into a car, whether that's a cloud-based credential or a physical secure element in a car. And you can see on this screen, there's all kinds of other devices that can pay for themselves, whether it's the Nest thermostat that can meter their electricity. We've got their Korean rice cooker that automatically can pre-order rice when you start running out. So IoT will be huge. And we feel really good at Visa that we spent a lot of time developing the token standard, making it an interoperable standard with MasterCard, Amex, and others, getting it into iPhone, getting it into Samsung Pay, getting it into Android Pay. Well, what comes next? And what comes next would be enabling all of these devices to have automated payment occur in a secure fashion. So we start to think about the card, right, and your payment credentials. And we love the 16 digits, and they're associated with you and your account. But username and password is kind of a crappy experience. How many people here think they have more than 10 username or passwords in their lives, right? More than 20? More than 50? Anybody think they have more than 100? That person is using a password manager, I can guarantee you. So you know, username and password is kind of going away. Biometrics are certainly starting to emerge. And everybody here is probably using Touch ID to open their phone. I think the average that Apple published was over 150 times a day people open their phone with Touch ID. Could be higher for others. So we start to move away from this notion of who are you and what is your avatar. MIT did a study and said they could recreate unique identity to uniquely identify you based on the data exhaust that you are leaving out there, whether it's cookies or purchases being made, and they can pinpoint down to each individual person and never have a false positive or identify the wrong person. So you start to become this avatar of all the data that you were leaving out there. And you start to think about this. We have been very careful at Visa not to sell data and to be very careful about privacy. And we respect all of those things. Now, you have other companies that are in the social media space who have built entire businesses around selling your data, right? And had this funny thing happen to me. I was driving to work one day. I put my phone in my pocket and turned Bluetooth on, and suddenly Apple told me that it was 13 minutes to get to work, and the traffic was pretty good. And I was like, whoa, I never told Apple where I work. I didn't tell Apple I'm driving to work. I certainly didn't tell Apple where I work. And they're telling me I am going to work, which I was doing, and they're telling me exactly how long it's going to take. And remarkably, I think when I timed this, they were exactly correct. It did take 13 minutes. So location-based services, everybody in this room, you probably have them turned on by default. Has anybody actually been messed with those settings and tried to turn them off or even seen what you're being tracked? There's a few people in here. But essentially, this is happening, and your data is being monetized. If it's being monetized for your benefit, you're probably okay with it. If it's being monetized where it's creepy, you probably don't like it. And that's a very tricky interface. We tried to find out at Visa at the One Market Center, what is the cost of privacy for a Visa employee? And anybody know what that price is? We quantified, we proved this in an experiment. It's $3.50. We decided to give free coffee to people at One Market who would sign up for a biometric authentication experiment. You had to scan in your 4 fingers and take a selfie. We would store that in our server. Once you did that, you could pay with your hand if you wanted to see if this would work. You had to sign a privacy agreement. And the average cost of the coffee we were giving away was $3.50. So there you have it. That's what the average Visa employee thinks their privacy is worth. So you start to think about all these things. And when you move forward, you see that all of these devices are getting into your daily life. This is the Samsung fridge. Has everybody seen this? It has cameras in it. You can be in Whole Foods or Safeway or Kroger, and you can look inside your fridge while you're shopping, right? It can also tell you what has, what's starting to perish in terms of freshness. It has egg sensors in it. It can tell you if the eggs are rotten, if there's no eggs in there, if the milk is going bad. It can do all this stuff for you. You can even place orders. It has open APIs, and it allows you to develop a marketplace. So there is a marketplace of apps, a so-called app store for your fridge. Now, if you don't believe us, believe this guy, arguably one of the smartest guys out there, Mark Zuckerberg. He presented this strategy at their developer conference a few months ago in San Francisco. And they talked about how they started with an ecosystem of social networking. They then moved into these different product spaces. And their 10-year plan, it's kind of funny to think of Facebook as being so far-reaching as having a 10-year plan, is based on 3 things: connectivity, AI, and VR, AR. And so on the connectivity side, they want to connect everyone on the planet. There are many people in the world that don't have access to internet. And for a company like Visa, our network only works, or traditionally has only worked, when there is fixed line telephony and electricity. So have you guys ever seen those maps of the world with the lights on them, right? And then you have these vast parts of the planet where there is no lights, and there are still many people living there. Well, traditionally, our systems have only worked where the lights are, because you can plug a point-of-sale system in, you need a computer, we need to have an authorization connection back to VisaNet. Well, what Facebook is trying to do is put up drones and solar-powered aircraft. They actually, at their conference, had this solar-powered aircraft in a room about half this size. And they're going to fly these over parts of the world in sub-Saharan Africa and in other places to provide internet connectivity. So they're in the satellite business. So you start to think about these companies that start off as social networks suddenly have to have core competencies in aeronautical engineering and solar-powered aircrafts. I was in Washington, D.C. recently, and I was speaking at a congressional panel, and there's somebody from Amazon sitting next to me, and they were an FAA lobbyist. And I was really wondering after the panel, like, why is Amazon here for a Federal Aviation Aeronautics panel? And it's because they're getting into the aircraft space. If you haven't read, they bought an airport and they started to lease aircrafts, right? And they're hopefully, in their minds, going to deliver your packages by drones. Artificial intelligence is something that has progressed tremendously in the last few years. I think computers in the 1970s could identify roughly 700 words. Today we're into the hundreds of millions of words across multiple languages, and all of this happens in the cloud. So AI in the cloud, IBM Watson, and other services that can be accessed through web services, APIs. And going back to the interfaces, we want to be able to interact in our world in a very natural fashion, whether it's visually, with voice, or with chat. We want natural language understanding, natural language processing. AR and VR, augmented reality, Microsoft HoloLens. Virtual reality is great if you're a gamer, but it makes you very dizzy and it's very disconcerting if you put these big glasses on. But augmented reality may be a bit better. Google Glass was a pioneer, but if you've seen the Microsoft HoloLens, you have holograms that get projected around your world. You kind of can have up to like 100 equivalent screens as you're walking around your room or walking down the street. These are all things that are going to drive commerce, and really, we have to be cognizant of these trends here at Visa so that we continue to have those payment credentials attached to all of those experiences. So what does it actually mean for us? So we've obviously been spending a lot of money and a lot of time over the last X number of years on e-commerce, enabling e-commerce, m-commerce, contactless. I have this really cool NFC ring that I brought back from Rio. It really always gets a lot of wows when you pay with a ring. Internet of Things, putting tokens into those IoT devices. But the reality is we don't know what the next best thing is. This is becoming increasingly difficult when we talk to our clients, because it used to be you had a product roadmap. Go into a client meeting and say, show me your roadmap. Show me all the products you're going to deliver over the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 quarters, 4 years. Well, it's becoming increasingly difficult to show a product roadmap that's credible beyond a couple of versions, because we don't know where things are going. Conversations are now changing. The conversations are now more like, tell me what your innovation DNA is as a company. Tell me what your reconfigurability is, your agility is, to see if we are like-minded and compatible so that we together as partners can work on whatever challenges the future may bring us. And so that's why we're doing things like hackathons. That's why you all are participating in these, because we need to tap into the billion IQ points that don't work for us. So old-style innovation, we go way back to the era of where IBM drove so much of the innovation, Xerox, PARC, all these large companies. We do this at Visa. We hire the most intelligent, smartest, best people on the planet, and then we're going to come up with the greatest products on Earth. Well, it turns out there's a billion IQ points that we're not tapping into. And that's why we need to have a platform approach. And we've always had a platform approach. Is everybody familiar with the zero business model? You guys have heard of that, the 0, 0, 0 business models? Go back to Uber, right? Uber is the largest personal transportation company in the world. They're doing more than 1 million rides a day in over 15 cities. By the way, they didn't exist 5 years ago. They have 0 cars and 0 drivers. You've all heard of Airbnb or stayed in one of those. They are the largest hotel chain equivalent in the world, bigger than Marriott, Intercontinental, and Hilton combined, and they have 0 rooms. And then go into Facebook. We showed Mark Zuckerberg, the largest content company in the world. They have no content. They don't write content. They don't have editors. They don't have journalists. We all produce the content for them. They are our platform. And then go to Visa. We're the largest consumer payments company in the world, and we have 0 cards. We don't issue credit cards, right? We used to be worried about putting a sign out here because we thought people would come in and want to pay their statement and complain about the interest rate, right? We got over that. But the reality is, if you have a problem with your card, call BofA, call Chase, call Barclays, call your issuer, right? So we've always been about the open platform. We've always been about connecting. However, we had a kind of what is now considered slightly old-fashioned approach. It was ISO messages. Everybody know Field 52, Field 55, messages that were defined in the 1970s when bandwidth was expensive. We had proprietary VPN connections, very fixed ways of getting into VisaNet. We now realize we have to modernize that platform, which is why all the work has been done around VDP, Visa Developer Platform. We have 400 services that we want to expose out to the world. Traditionally, we had a closed product stack, credit, debit, commercial cards. It was a take it or leave it, one-size-fits-all model. In fact, you couldn't do much with the product. Even the Visa logo was specified down to the millimeters and the color of the blue, and when we had the orange flag, there wasn't a lot of variability. Today, we want to just aggregate how the credit stack, the commercial stack, the debit stack, and other products are delivered so that our partners in the ecosystem can be very creative about how they reconfigure those into new products and services. There's no talk today on innovation that's not replete with about 100 references to Uber. I think I'm already up to the 5th one. I'll go to 6. One of the fascinating things about Uber is when you look at their app and you deconstruct it, probably 60, 70, maybe 80% of the app is not written by Uber, right? The maps originally came from Google Maps. If Google had mapped the world and then not made it a closed proprietary mapping app that only Google could offer up, but instead had an open API, Google has a business model. You can make API calls to Google Maps and they charge you on, I'm not familiar with the pricing, but maybe they charge you $100 per 1,000 calls, whatever it is. And they told the ecosystem, go wild. Here's documentation, here's an SDK, go and embed this mapping service in your service as long as you want, and pay me the clicks that I'm going to get. Who does the payment processing for Uber? Braintree, company that PayPal acquired. They didn't have to write a credit card processing engine. Who powers a lot of their customer service? Companies like Twilio that send out messages and allow you to talk to the driver anonymously. They didn't have to write any of that, right? So you're looking at that app, the secret sauce was how they engaged in what we call combinatorial commerce. Commerce that is the combination of different elements, different web services, Lego building blocks, if you will, and put it together in a new, meaningful way. So that's what we want to do here at Visa in terms of having our APIs embedded in other people's new solutions. We've always been doing it on a fixed message basis. We want to do it in a more modular basis. So, how do we do this? We don't do it alone. And this is a fallacy that everyone who's involved in a hackathon really should think about. We are not like a Microsoft where you have independent software developers working in their garages and cool-looking brick lofts in New York with bicycles and writing apps, right? We only go to market via our partners, right? So we can only do this if we do it with our banks. The reason why we have scale is because we have over 15,000 issuers around the world that issue our cards according to the standards and the interfaces we have. So everything that we build has to be built in mind with a go-to-market strategy of working with issuers on that side of the business and working with acquirers on the other side of the business to get to merchants. And you've heard probably Charlie Scharf, our CEO, say this: we don't have a plan B. We're not planning on trying something, and if it doesn't work, we'll go direct to consumer. We have one strategy, and that's go to market via issuers and acquirers. So as you're building your new ideas, think about, how would I work with an issuer? How would I work with an acquirer? How would this service connect into the distribution channel that we have here at Visa? And we purposely put a couple of images here, not just the plastic card, but also the iWatch, and we didn't get the Samsung Watch on there, but that also has payment in it, or Android Pay, Apple Pay, et cetera, et cetera. Those form factors are changing very quickly. So if you look at all of these different services that we've already exposed, these are the ones you have to play with today. At visa.developer.com, I think there's over 100 of these services with documentation and with a sandbox and with the ability to start integrating them into an application. How are we engaging with our ecosystem? Just wanted to go over this quickly. I'm responsible for running the innovation centers in the Americas and the One Market Center, which is kind of our flagship center. We've built out a model over the last year and a half around engage, experience, and collaborate. We've built out an engagement program where we bring in our clients and partners from all over the world. We've had over 300 just in the last 1 year come to One Market. And we explain to them the trends and what's happening in the business, and we have an engagement program where they can tell us what's happening in their business. And then we built out these experiences. We try to avoid death by PowerPoint. Everyone knows that people who use PowerPoint tend to have no power and no point. So we try to avoid it. It's very hard to do because it's a very easy crutch. So instead, we built out experiences where we can showcase the future of commerce in an interactive, immersive, contextualized fashion. So in our offices, we have a sawed-off car in the building where we show you how connected car, tokenization, the blockchain, digital contracts all come together by fake selling a car to our clients in about 6 minutes. We have a connected home where we show how IoT mesh works with personalization in the physical world with Visa token service and voice control. We have a full retail store that shows how omni-channel commerce works with next generation point-of-sale systems that are API-based. And the last part is collaborate. We spend a lot of time today collaborating with our clients. We have over 50 clients that are working with us to co-create solutions together. And there we take a three-legged stool approach. We take Visa APIs, we take APIs and proof of concepts from our clients, and we bring in all that other stuff from the outside world that you find on GitHub and Hacker News and all these other places. So that's kind of what we'd like you to do with the hackathon, is take that two-legged, three-legged stool approach, integrate Visa services, integrate services that you find out there on the net. We've actually now rolled out this program globally. So this is a picture of the Singapore Innovation Center that opened a few months ago that has a very similar model that we had in One Market, but with an Asian flavor, because the markets are very different in Asia Pacific. This is a picture of our experience center where we have a car and we're showing clients how all these technologies come together and how really a car is an IoT device on wheels. Our collaboration centers, we've also opened a center in Miami, Dubai. With the Visa Europe acquisition, we are now going to have centers in London and Berlin, Tel Aviv, Sao Paulo has a small center. So we're building these innovation centers, building this network around the world so that we can engage with our ecosystem in a more interactive and a more modern way. The hackathon is really important because this is how we can engage with our employee base. And this is how we can tap into your billions of IQ points so that you can take some time off of your daily work and start thinking out of the box in a very different way using the same tools that we're using with our clients and that we want our ecosystem to use. It's called eating your own dog food, right? We want to make sure that what we're doing externally, we're doing internally. So that's our network of centers, and hopefully I've given you a bit of a flavor of how we think about innovation here at Visa. And I'd like to close off and open up for some questions. Thank you.